Cortes' letter, part 2. There are in all districts of this great city many temples or houses for their idols. They are all very beautiful buildings, and in the important ones there are priests of their sect who live there permanently. And in addition to the houses for the idols, they also have very good lodgings. All these priests dress in black and never comb their hair from the time they enter the priesthood until they leave. And all the sons of the persons of high rank, both the lords and honor citizens also, enter the priesthood and wear the habit from the age of 7 or 8 years until they are taken away to be married. This occurs more among the firstborn sons who are to inherit than among the others. They abstain from eating things, and more at some times of the year than at others. And no woman is granted entry nor permitted inside these places of worship. Amongst these temples there is one, the principal one, whose great size and magnificence no human tongue could describe, for it is so large that within the precincts, which are surrounded by a very high wall, a town of some 500 inhabitants could easily be built. All round inside this wall there are very elegant quarters with very large rooms and corridors where their priests live. There are as many as 40 towers, all of which are so high that in the case of the largest, there are 50 steps leading up to the main part of it. And the most important of these towers is higher than that of the Cathedral of Seville. They are so well constructed in both their stone and woodwork that there can be none better in any place. For all the stonework inside the chapels where they keep their idols is in high relief, with figures and little houses, and the woodwork is likewise of relief and painted with monsters and other figures and designs. All these towers are burial places of chiefs, and the chapels therein are each dedicated to the idol which he venerated. There are 3 rooms within this great temple for the principal idols, which are of remarkable size and stature, and decorated with many designs and sculpture, both in stone and in wood. Within these rooms are other chapels, and the doors to them are very small. Inside there is no light whatsoever. There only some of the priests may enter, for inside are the sculptured figures of the idols, although, as I have said, there are also many outside. The most important of these idols, and the ones in whom they have most faith, I have taken from their places and thrown down the steps. And I had those chapels where they were cleaned, for they were full of blood of sacrifices. And I had images of Our Lady and other saints put there, which caused Mutazumma and the other natives some sorrow. First they asked me not to do it, for when the communities learnt of it, they would rise against me. For they believed that those idols gave them all their worldly goods, and that if they were allowed to be ill-treated, they would become angry and give them nothing and take the fruit from the earth, leaving the people to die of hunger. I made them understand through the interpreters how deceived they were in placing their trust in those idols which they had made with their hands from unclean things. They must know that there was only one God, Lord of all things, who had created heaven and earth and all else, and who made all of us. And he was without beginning or end, and they must adore and worship only him, not any other creature or thing. And I told them all I knew about this to dissuade them from their idolatry and bring them to the knowledge of God our Saviour. All of them, especially Mutazuma, replied that they had already told me how they were not natives of this land, and that as it was many years since their forefathers had come here, they well knew that they might have erred somewhat in what they believed, for they had left their native land so long ago. And as I had only recently arrived from there, I would know better the things they should believe and should explain to them and make them understand, for they would do as I said was best. Mutazuma and many of the chieftains of the city were with me until the idols were removed, and the chapel cleaned, and the images set up. And I urged them not to sacrifice living creatures to the idols as they were accustomed. For as well as being most abhorrent to God, your sacred majesty's laws forbade it. and ordered that he who kills shall be killed. And from then on they ceased to do it. And in all the time I stayed in that city, I did not see a living creature killed or sacrificed. The figures of the idols in which these people believe are very much larger than the body of a big man. They are made of dough from all the seeds and vegetables which they eat, ground and mixed together and bound with the blood of human hearts, which those priests tear out while still beating. And also, after they are made, they offer them more hearts and anoint their faces with blood. Everything has an idol dedicated to it, in the same manner as the pagans, who in antiquity honored their gods. So they have an idol whose favor they ask in war, and another for agriculture. And likewise, for each thing they wish to be done well, they have an idol which they honor and serve. There are in the city many large and beautiful houses, and the reason for this is that all the chiefs of the land, who are Montezuma's vassals, have houses in the city and live there for part of the year. And in addition, there are many rich citizens who likewise have very good houses. All these houses have very large and very good rooms, and also very pleasant gardens of various sorts of flowers, both on the upper and lower floors. Along one of the causeways to this great city run 2 aqueducts made of mortar. Each one is 2 paces wide and some 6 feet deep, and along one of them a stream of very good fresh water as wide as a man's body flows into the heart of the city, and from this they all drink. The other, which is empty, is used when they wish to clean the first channel. Where the aqueducts cross the bridges, the water passes along some channels, which are as wide as an ox, and so they serve the whole city. Canoes paddle through all the streets selling the water. They take it from the aqueduct by placing the canoes between the bridges where those channels are, and on top there are men who fill the canoes and are paid for their work. At all the gateways to the city and at the places where these canoes are unloaded, which is where the greater part of the provisions enter the city, there are guards in huts who receive a percentage of all that enters. I have not yet discovered whether this goes to the chief or to the city, but I think to the chief, because in other markets in other parts I have seen this tax paid to the ruler of the place. Every day, in all the markets and public places, there are many workmen and craftsmen of every sort, waiting to be employed by the day. The people of this city are dressed with more elegance and are more courtly in their bearing than those of the other cities and provinces. And because Montezuma and all those chieftains, his vassals, are always coming to the city, the people have more manners and politeness in all matters. Yet, so as not to tire your highness with the description of the things of this city, I will say only that these people live almost like those in Spain, and in as much harmony and order as there, and considering that they are barbarous, and so far from the knowledge of God, and cut off from all civilized nations, it is truly remarkable to see what they have achieved in all things.